All right, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight on Thursday Night Live. I'm Dylan Ford, and my guests today are Andrew Troma and Ryan Hopkins. How are you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Ryan and Andrew are working with the City of London, and they're here to talk about some urbanization issues that we're having in the city today. So I have a couple of questions to ask them tonight. So Ryan, why might some cities get it right with urbanizations, but other cities have problems with it?
I personally think London has a problem with it because of the original planning of the city. Because they had a downtown area right by the Thames River, and then they chose to put a train track right through the center. And I personally think that caused a lot of problems with traffic and other housing issues, so I think that's their biggest problem.
So on to my next question. What do you think the first step towards dealing with urbanization in London is, Andrew?
I think we just need to work on our gentrification. We're building these huge facilities in the outskirts of London. For example, the new arena in Komoka that they built a couple years ago. They're moving all these trafficked areas outside of the city. They're cutting out farmland. That used to be a farmer's field, for example, where they grew corn. Now they don't have that anymore. So I think they need to just touch on renewing things downtown, such as houses and older stores.
Do you have anything to comment on that?
I personally think that the first step to getting better urbanization in London would have to be creating more jobs for those people that are moving to the city to get the big city life, supposedly is what people say. But they're not getting jobs when they come here. They're just kind of settling in different areas in poorer ends of the city, which creates kind of a slums environment, and I don't think that's why we need to get a better city.
Okay. On to my third question. How will the urbanization affect the environment in London?
I think really it's going to be the forest industry. As we are the forest city, we have a lot of trees. And I think if they want to add stuff to the downtown area and outside that, there is a lot of forested area still. Not as much, obviously, because we're in a city, but we have more than some cities. And I think they're going to have to take out some of those trees if they want to tackle the problems they have.
And just touching on that, air pollution, building these huge factories, out by the 401 in East London, for example, they're building these huge factories that just contribute to poor air pollution. That's just an example.
Can I add another thing, actually? I think another big problem is since we are on the Thames River, these factories that were built along the Thames River a long time ago are just polluting into the water, which is ruining our water cycle.
My next question is geared towards more of the economy of London. So Ryan, can you describe for me some of the impacts that urbanization is having on the society of our city?
Well, I think the people that are coming in through the rural areas that are trying to get the city life, I think a lot of them don't find those jobs, so they're creating more of a slum environment, which can lead to crime and more drugs in some parts of the city. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we're having right now.
And just to touch on that, just the unemployment we don't have, because we're building these huge housing areas, and a lot of them are too expensive. So especially when you don't have a good employment, it's hard for people to buy these big houses that we're building when they can't afford it, obviously.
Yeah, and that always comes back to creating jobs, right? I think that's our big first step. We need to create some jobs for London to get better.
Okay. And on to my last question before we take a little commercial break. How might the surrounding rural areas of London be affected by the urbanization that's going on?
Well, I think the people that are leaving the rural areas to come to London, they're leaving less and less people to actually do the agricultural work, which is what you need for the city.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, we're not practicing that lifestyle as much as we used to, so there's a lot of less family farms, for example. Even what I touched on earlier, the arena in Komoka. We don't have that cornfield anymore, so just there's less people that are doing that, and it's just creating less jobs basically in the agricultural world.
Yeah, you talk about the Komoka arena a lot. There's another area at Oxford and Hyde Park where they're kind of adding they added a big complex beside Costco.
Yeah.
With a whole bunch of different establishments, and that used to be a farm field.
It's right almost in the center of the city.
Yeah, and they held on to that for a long time. Because you could see that they wanted to keep it, but London they wouldn't give up. They always buy that farmland, and I think that's going to be the expanding parts. It's just going to keep up like that, especially in North London. North London is just moving way out. They're just expanding with housing, only housing.
Yeah, if you look at Argyle Mall, for example, that used to be farmer's field not too long ago, and then they just built this huge mall, this outlet mall, and it's just taking away from like this land that we used to grow food with, essentially. So we have to import food from like other cities and even different provinces. So
Yeah, we're losing a lot of our locally grown foods.
We are.
It's going to be a problem.
All right, well, that was some excellent insight from the two representatives from the City of London. So we're going to talk more about urbanization after we take a quick commercial break.